Hello.
Hey, you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me just fine?
Yeah, that fan not making no noise, is it? Oh, okay. Cool.
Nope, I don't hear it at all.
Cool.
Okay, I'm tagging a couple people. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see. Some people. Let's see. Diamond. Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody. We're back. We're back. We're back. Alrighty. Uh-oh.
What
What
happened?
just happened? Do you see I look weird?
No. No?
No?
Mm.
Do we still look split screen to you?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks kind of weird. Like it literally, it looks weird. Um, okay. It's not acting.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm centered.
Yeah.
It just shows it really weird on my end. I'm gonna take a picture of it and send it to you. But anyway, hi everybody. How are you guys doing? We are back for another part of our the Heart of a King series. If you caught us yesterday, then we were talking about the heart of a king and how he carries himself and what does that look like and how he shows up as an individual, because that part is important. And I know yesterday, Dr. Faraji, you talked about how, the foundation of who he is affects like where he's going to go and how his decision making and how it looks in his relationships and so forth. Hey, Joseph, what's up, Mr. Darnell Gray, Pastor Gray out here from South Carolina. Um, so yeah, we were talking about all these different characteristics, and now today we're going to talk about what does it look like for a king to steward his queen.
Right.
um, so let's see, I'm gonna pull up some of the conversation we're talking about. So for one, we've got so many good topics, you guys. If this is your first time joining, please say hello. We'd love to hear from you. Hit the love if you're appreciating what we're saying. If you don't like what we're saying, we're not afraid of a thumbs down, an angry face. We're not afraid of it all. Do you?
Right.
Just be authentically you. We accept and welcome that. Hey, Leonard, how are you? Hey, Jason, what's going on? And so anyway, we're talking about from a king's perspective. It's best represented, of course, by a man.
Right.
Let's hear what a man has to say. So first of all, welcome, Dr. Faraji.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I'm
Appreciate it.
excited.
Yeah.
And so the first conversation that we wanted to talk about is we talked about submission a little bit. What's up, Sean? Hey, hey, hey. So we talked about submission a little bit yesterday, but you had a very interesting take on submission. Can we just really quick do a recap even of what you talked about yesterday about the difference between like a dependent and a partner?
Right. So, well, was that in the realm of submission? Did we talk about that in the realm
Because
of submission?
when you position yourself for as a dependent, it makes you have to submit differently than it
Right.
does if you're.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that submission, you're in turn, or in fact, a dependent at that point. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, your voice don't carry any weight, you know, and so on and so forth. But, when you position yourself as a partner, submission is not a negative thing because both partners should be submitting to each other. So that's what I said yesterday. Yeah. So, and that's more important than anything else, and I described it as when it's something pertaining to your lane that you're the knowledge expert, the subject matter expert of, I would need to submit to my queen because she has more information, and it's her job to teach me. to teach me, to help me understand, and vice versa. When it's something that's in my lane, I'm the subject matter expert on, she would need to submit to me, to kind of, trust me in guiding her where we are going. And I have the responsibility to teach her, to make her feel comfortable, etc.
Awesome. That's good. So what we're going to start right away with is for this portion right here, y'all, is for the singles. We have a lot of we're going to hit various aspect of relationships. So if you're married, if you're already coupled up, if you're, engaged, if you're seeking a relationship, single, whatever. But this right here, this is a question that I believe, I mean, that would definitely be applicable to the single people. And it was about, or this statement is about, like, the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? And obtains favor from the Lord. I believe that a woman should add favor. And I believe that we in our most healthiest form and best selves, we do add favor. But what I do believe is that when it comes down to the he who finds a wife finds a good thing, I hit this conversation last week when we talked about the queens, because most times people imply that a woman cannot, initiate with a man. A woman cannot be the person who starts the conversation or anything like that.
Right.
And so she's in a position of just waiting, as if, that it's just his decision. What are your thoughts on that?
And I don't, and this is again just my opinion, I don't think that that's correct. A woman should advocate for herself, right? If she has an interest, right? So we all hear that interest has to be mutual. There has to be a mutual interest. If you're just waiting, waiting to be found, you're not advocating for yourself. Don't you have some say so in who find you? So the first scumbag that comes along and find you, hey, I've been found, I'm good now. You know what I mean? And that's not the case, because although you've been found, that person may not be a good match for you.
Right.
You may not be in alignment. So you should have some say so in who approaches you or who you entertain. So just waiting to be found, there's a lot of things that you could be doing while you're waiting to be found. What are you doing in that time? Are you working on yourself, or are you just, a lot of people give lip service. They think that they are a viable candidate, and they don't do any work behind it. And that's male and female. There's power in your singleness. You could be working on a lot of things while you're single. You could be healing yourself. You can be advocating for yourself, career, your talent, your passion, your purpose. You can be working on all of those things in the meantime until you're found, until somebody piques your interest and you give that person your attention. So just waiting is never a good idea, especially if half the time with dating now, you're waiting in vain anyway. So you got a lot of, I guess, people to kind of comb through to find that valuable candidate. Because again, you have to understand or try to figure out what that person is approaching you for. They may have some ulterior motive. Are you ready to be approached? Are you ready to entertain a situation like that? So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point too, like, people's motive. And sometimes even what I found in some of the women that that I coach is, because they remove their power by thinking that he who finds, they're the only powerful person, right? Meaning, like, I'm leaving this up to you. They surrender their power.
Right.
And now not in a position of choosing, which is one of the greatest gifts I think God gave us, is like the power of choosing.
Right.
So I get to just as well, like you stated, be involved in this discovering process.
Right.
And rather found me, it's cool, but do I want to be found by you? You know what I'm saying?
So you're absolutely right. So this is the biggest debate that I have when I coach singles, right? There's only two types of way to date. You can date one at a time, that's called singular dating, or you can date multiple people at a time, that's circular dating, right? So as soon as you mention circular dating, I'm not a hoe. You know what I mean? I'm not a hoe. First of all, dating does not include sex. You don't have to hold hands. You don't have to kiss. You don't have to do anything. You are just in the process of getting to know somebody. You don't even have to go out with the person. You have to dedicate time to getting to know a person. Knowing, the more you talk, the more a person will reveal about themselves. And you can kind of weed out whatever their motives are. I hear all the time that, I was getting to know this guy, he just kept bringing up sex. Well, you know where his mind is. And men say, I was getting to know this girl and she's asking me all these financial questions. Well, you know what her motives are. So circular dating is not a bad thing. It has a negative stigma attached to it because because people are sharing themselves while they're dating. You know what I mean? And you can take
Yeah.
that confusion away and still circular date, which means you're just getting to know you're just getting to know multiple people at a time. Again, you don't have to kiss, you don't have to have sex, you don't have to hold hands, you don't have to, get into that boo phase, but people speed because a lot of people are frustrated in their singleness because they don't have a lot of things taking up their time. So they focus
Mm.
on their singleness. So the minute somebody show interest, it's just like, okay, we off to the races here. You know what I mean? So that's an issue that a lot of people have to contend with. But yeah, man, it's yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it there because I don't want to go
No,
down
that's
the hole.
good.
But
That's
yeah,
so good because that kind of brings us into a really good part that we was gonna probably move down the line. But I just want to go ahead and let's talk about that. When you talked about like what are you doing in the midst of your waiting, and fulfilling your purpose and stuff. One of the reasons that I have friends who would say, Aquila, I'm not you. I'm not trying to be single forever. I don't want your story. I don't want your testimony. I've been divorced 9 years. I dated, then for a couple of years, and then I didn't date for a long time, for several years. And they would be like, I don't understand. You mean to tell me you don't go on a date? Nope. And I would tell them it's the most craziest thing, but I would be like, but purpose fills my cup.
right,
It makes me feel like I'm not missing anything
right,
because my cup is full. So now when somebody comes into my life, they're not feeling a void. You're
right,
adding to what I've
right,
already got on. And I don't want to feel the void in somebody else's life either.
right,
you know I know I talked to you about this before, but I have a heart concept of like this seat is taken. So because my seat is filled already with my husband, he just ain't found the seat yet.
right,
You know what I'm saying? I'm
right,
like, because my seat is taken with my husband, I don't just allow anybody to come sit in his seat.
right,
And I'm interviewing, if you will, for that seat and stuff like that.
right,
So when you talk about that purpose, when
right,
you talked about like what are you doing in the midst of your waiting, even when people listen really quick, for the people in relationship, it's just as and equally important for you to fulfill purpose and still be working and operating in purpose while you're together.
right. Because so many people lose themselves in a relationship. They don't have an identity. This is why you ever met somebody who's like in relationship after relationship. None of them work out. So they might be the type of individual that hunts for that euphoria that a new relationship brings, right? What we call a honeymoon phase, right? So they once that die down, they conveniently lose that relationship and they hop to the next, they hop to the next, they hop to the next. They don't have an identity. You know what I mean? So individuals who have an identity generally don't hop because even with your statement that what you just made, I was the complete opposite, right? So after my marriage was annulled, right, I was tearing women up, like, you know what I mean? I was ripping hearts to shreds because it's not that I didn't process properly. I didn't process properly. So once I started to see the value in myself again, that's when I started to feel myself. So that's why people say, why are you such an overachiever? Because I had time. Yeah, I had time to do it. So, there's not too many people that's gonna have, multiple degrees and speak several languages and all this other stuff because I was feeling my way around in the dark. You know what I mean? Before I really started to key in on purpose for myself.
Yes.
Because again, like what to go back is like I said, a lot of people don't have an identity, so they lose themselves. So it's always that struggle of frustration with their partner when the issue is not with their partner, it's with themselves. They begin to resent their partner, think that their partner is doing something to them, and the partner is not. The partner is just carrying a mantle that they gave them. You know what I mean? So once you feel your life with your own purpose, right? With your own purpose, your partner comes in with their own purpose and you can help each other. Remember, we were talking about the submission part, and
Yeah.
it's submission, but you become a support. You become a resource to a person. If you both
Mm.
got a lot of things going on, when you have something going on, your partner can take that support role and assist you in whatever you got going on, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's good. You know, that I don't even that's so good, like the perspective of that when you're supporting your partner, you're submitting to them. Before we went live, we were talking about how, purpose, like I was saying, like if I'm super busy and I gotta travel and whatever the case may be, and then my partner is the person who's at home or whatever, you were saying like, hey, then I would be at home, supporting the way that I, need to support, what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
but if in fact I moved in a position where now, I decide, hey, I'm laying this down. So
Right.
now I'm at home and you're traveling,
Right.
and now you're maybe picking up on your speaking career, and then I'm submitting to the fact that you're moving
Right.
around, and what does it look like to hold, take care of our household, and so
Right.
on and so
That's
forth.
the ebb and flow of any relationship, platonic and otherwise, even in a business relationship. Two heads are better than one. So now we have four eyes, two mouths, two nose, four ears, and we can better survey and better tackle things. It should not be in any animosity, especially if you're operating in under a true partnership. There's no what's the word that I'm looking for? There's no animosity. There's no competition. It's just, hey, when I know you got your speaking gig, when you writing your books, I know the role that I'm gonna play. You don't have to ask me. I'm passing out books, passing out cards, taking money, whatever I need to do, and vice versa. When
Yeah.
I'm writing, because I think I said this before under another time we spoke. I said it's a difference between somebody. There's a difference in support when somebody supports you, right? There's one type of support, so where somebody gives you the space to do what you do, right? Okay, you're writing. Okay, cool. Well, I'm not going to bother you. Oh, you selling your book, you speaking. I'm not going to bother you. And then there's a type of support that says, hey, you're doing this. How can I help you? Let me help you. What can I do to assist you? I'm not just going to give you your space to do what you need to do. I'm going to actively dive in there and help you. Okay, let me set the room up. You got the light right, your camera charged, there's a difference. A lot of people support means giving a person the space to do whatever it is to do. But that other level of support is, okay, I'm gonna submit to you. You're the subject matter expert. How can I assist you? How can I help you? You need a couple of dollars to get a good background, or you need a new dress, you need some shoes, you need a new suit, whatever the case is. That's actively supporting, opposed to just giving somebody the space. Okay, I know you're busy. I'm not gonna bother you. I'm gonna go do my thing. So there's definitely a difference in the way somebody can support you.
That's good. Somebody two things. One person, Tanet, she posted a question and said, "Isn't circular dating hopping around?"
No, no. No, hopping around is the people who say, "Oh, I date one person at a time," right? So they allot themselves however amount of time to get to know somebody. If that don't work, they move them out the way. They go to somebody else, right? So circular dating in its healthy form would be, hey, you have an interest in me. Hey, I'm currently uh, getting to know or going out on dates several other people, right? I do the process of elimination. That's what circular dating is. It's just like it's more of a time factor. So for the person who's singular dating, they're gonna, if it doesn't work out, they're wasting several months until that person mess up. They find out that that's not a good candidate for themselves, and then they move the person out of the way. So in that same 30 days, they're talking to two, three different people. Now, mind you, no sex. There's not, hey, boo, hey, babe, good morning, beautiful, hey, handsome, none of that. I'm just getting to know you. We may go out to dinner or whatever the case is. So that's not hopping around, but you're letting everybody know that this is how you date, you know, because unfortunately, there's a big secretive, aspect of dating. There's none of his business. It's none of her business. She don't need to know who else I'm dating or whatever the case is. So they're tricking the person, say, hey, you're the only person I'm talking to, while they're entertaining several other people. The old spare tire concept. You know what I mean? Just in case it don't work out, I'm gonna have this over here on the side. You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
that's 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 not circular dating in its purest form.
Okay. And then another one is, hey Sean, she said, can you speak on the partner who envies? You kind of start hitting on it a little bit indirectly rather than supports his queen's growth.
Say what now?
A partner that envies instead of supports his queen.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a whole hot mess. Now, I can give you my example because I was in a situation like that. But a person who envies, that manifests itself in so many ways. Every time you have something to do, there's an issue, there's a problem. Um, they won't support, they won't show up to your book signings, they won't show up to your speaking engagements. If they do, they have an attitude. Why are you talking to this person? Why this man looking at you? Why this woman coming over here talking to you? You in a business space, you know what I mean? So you networking, you work in a room, and they sitting in the corner mad. It can manifest that way. Or they just won't support. How many people have ever been in a situation to where you have a product, right? You have a book, you have some type of talent or some type of business, and the person you won't even buy the book. The book will sit on the shelf, right? But they won't buy it. They won't plug you into other people. You might be looking for somebody who does a grant writing, and they know a grant writer. They won't connect the dots. They won't connect you because that's envy. That manifests, that can look like so many things, man. And it's important to recognize it and address it, right? Because normally it's a lack of what they have going on. Or even if they do have something going on, right? It might not
Mm-hmm.
be as much as you have going on, right? Let's just say it is. They might just want you in that position to where you're too accessible to people. So it's a fear of losing you. If I don't have nothing going on and you around all of these dudes in sharp dress suits and stuff like that, and at my home looking like a bum, I'm gonna have an issue. Why you going out? Why you wearing that dress? Why you looking at that? You know what I mean? So it could manifest in so many ways, and that person is not for you. You want somebody that through their concerns will support you in what you're doing, right? Through your concerns, because it's a conversation that takes place. There's reassurance that's needed, right? Hey, listen, I understand you have this concern, but this is how I'm going to handle it, right? So,
Yeah.
that's yeah. So again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole too tough, but
Lisa said, nope, that's good. Lisa said, or a fear of not being needed.
right. Yeah, that's another thing, right? But
Yep.
that's like shooting yourself in the foot. Like they fear that they don't need, they're not going to be needed. Any person who thinks like that would try kind of get on their job and say, hey, listen, how do I support? How do I get involved? Opposed to sitting on the side. It's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, you might not need me, so I'm just not going to show up.
Yeah. And interestingly too, like, envy, man, it may not even be the initiative, meaning like they don't start out that way,
Right,
right? They start out being excited and stuff, and then you get this unexpected, it's this unexpected outcome of, oh my gosh, this is actually excelling, this is actually going bigger and different than what
right,
I envisioned for my partner.
right,
And although want the best, like you said, but I believe there's a lot which you mentioned of how they see themselves,
right,
their lack that they see in themselves, because purpose should definitely be something that, I've got my own, you know
right,
what I mean, and you've got your own. So if you got a green thumb,
right,
you know what I'm saying, I don't have a green thumb, then maybe I'll learn, or maybe not, because it's just not my thing. And I
right,
think that sometimes in relationships, people want to share a tender moment in certain aspects when it comes to purpose, and it just may not be the case, if that
right.
makes sense. It might not be the thing that be, I'm gonna say this, I don't think everything is meant to be romantic. How
Right.
about that?
Right. But let me say this, on the other end of the spectrum, the person who got that blessing needs to know how to handle it correctly. Because
Yeah.
normally, like, so, and I'm gonna give you an example that I've coached a couple, right? So, it was a situation to where okay, I'm trying to keep it as anonymous as possible, right? So at that point, the person who gets the blessing has to know how to handle it, because there could be some underlying issue when you get the blessing. It's just like now you're trying to separate yourself. Oh shoot, I could do a little better. You know what I'm saying? I could do a little better now. You know what I mean? So when I was on level 7, I had a 7 next to me. Now I'm doing a little 10. I might be able to move a little differently. I've seen that on both aspects, to where men and
Me.
women, they start to change once they get that blessing, because they have more options. They have more
Mm,
options now, and then they're not
mm,
solid in their relationship, right? They
mm,
wasn't 100% on the person that they chose, right? They chose the
mm,
person for the moment that feel that need at that level. You want to choose a person that can expand all of those levels. If you fall off, that person can be there for you. When you get bigger, that person can be there for you and show it for you. You picking a person on this specific level to fill this need for this purpose and time, right? in this season when you should be thinking long term, right? Does this person serve me in the future? Do they have the attributes, right? If I fall off, are they going to take off and run? Or if I start to do bigger and better things, are they going to cause me a problem, right? So now when one person get a blessing over the other, they need to reassure that their partner, ask them, right? Ask them to put, ask to put them in a position to where they can support you, to bring them a lot closer, right? You know how your friend may be going through stuff. You get closer to that friend to show your support. Hey, listen, I'm here for you. You have to do the same thing in good times. Hey, listen, I got this blessing. I need you a little closer to me. I don't want to lose you in the rush. You ever been to a party and you walk into the
Yes.
thing holding hands and then all this mainly happened and you lose your partner's hand and you looking around? That's theoretically what happens. All of this stuff
Mhm.
starts to happen and you lose your partner's hand and all of this stuff. When you should hold it tighter, bring them in close to you and let them know that you're still solid with them. A lot of people use a come up to separate from their partner because they have more options and they want to move a little different now. You know what I mean? So it's on both ends of the spectrum.
Ooh, that's good. You don't want to lose your partner hand in the rush, y'all. That's good. That's good right there, y'all. That's really good. And that's so funny because I've been doing a lot of conversations around no plan B, right? And
Right.
and I need people to set their plan Bs on fire. Like your partner should be your plan A.
Mm-hmm.
If the partner you with is an option and not a choice, reevaluate. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so that's what I think that options can be distracting.
It is.
I
It
think
is.
I think the power is in choice. I think that's the beauty and the what I'm saying. I believe I think power is probably the biggest word I got, Dr. Faraji. You probably got like 30,000 more words that can reflect power. But
No, that's good. That's good. That's good.
okay, work.
Yeah.
Okay. So powerful. Like I think that our choice is powerful.
Right.
That when choosing it, we think about this is the analogy that I use, like when people say, well, when I get more money, my options are open. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, when I make more money, I'll have more options. And I'm like, or not. Maybe now you can actually get what you're choosing. You
Right.
can actually get your choice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't need the options. I don't need to know that there's this many cars and this many whatever brands.
Because all
I
those
just,
options won't fit you. They're not for
yes,
you. They are not for you. And people,
I just want a
they
choice.
yeah, they learn the hard way about those options. Because all of those options don't serve you. You can pick door number 3 and it can lead you somewhere you don't want to go.
Yeah, that's good. And I noticed too, like, what's so funny really quick is I think that a lot of times we want God to respond in options.
Right.
But I believe God responds to choice. I think people be praying and
Right.
asking for stuff like, God bless me with this. And then they want God to do like multiple choice. Like, Lord, let me just give me some options.
Right.
I believe, again, when you become solid in your choice, then
Right.
God can get by
God
you in that.
moves. Yeah, because you've made a decision. You've
You've
made a
made a decision.
decision. So yeah. So whether you call it God, the universe, once you make a choice, you decide, you become steadfast in what you want, God
Yep.
moves to deliver that. That's what I believe.
Absolutely. So now let's go down to let's stay in purpose a little bit. A lot of times in relationships that I speak to, and even when people are single, women or men alike, when they talk about I want somebody to align with my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Does purpose alignment mean that they have to do this, that they have to be doing the same work, the same kind of thing? Like, what are your thoughts?
No, they just have to be working, going in the same direction. So,
Oh,
and I'm glad you brought that up because I want to give you this whole deal about being equally yoked, right?
come
So,
on.
you know what a yoke is, right?
Yep. But
Okay.
give it to the people just in
So,
case.
for those who don't know, a yoke is that wood or metal thing that keeps two
Contraction.
oxen together, right? You ever seen a plow or oxen plowing? Is two of them side by side. That metal, that wood or metal brace around their neck is the yoke, right? So the thing about being equally yoked, right? You have a strong ox and a weaker one, right? That's an issue because the strong ox will drag the weaker ox and make more work for the stronger ox. So he gets burnt out. So the farmer wants to have two ox that are equally yoked, equal in strength, so they can pull successfully, right? So to take it back to a relationship, you don't have to do the same thing. You just have to be going in the same direction and strong as your partner, right? So you share that load. That's what the two oxen are doing. They're sharing that load. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, you're not equally yoked because you don't believe the same." That has nothing to do with it. Equally yoked means that it can take a shape in many forms, right? But as long as you're going in the same direction, as long as you're able to share the load, right? That you have the capacity to hold what your partner comes with, right? So when they're unyoked, I mean they're unequally yoked, this weaker ox is just being dragged and he's gonna fall off and he's gonna die, right? So they're leaving the stronger ox to do all the work. You want somebody that's as strong as you, has the capacity to come with, to handle what you come with and going in the same direction. It don't mean
Absolutely.
that you have to believe the same. Will it make it much easier? For me, I don't think so, because the tenets of all of the, what you call it, the all the Mosaic religions is to, do as do to others as you would have do to you, right? To love yourself, love your neighbors. So all of the religions preach that, right? So just because somebody may call him Allah and another person may call him Yahashua or Jesus or whatever the case is, the basic tenets are the same. Do no harm, love the person, love your fellow man, and treat others like you want to be treated, right? So for me, religion goes out the window. Even if you have a person that's one working and one not, that person can contribute in another way. You working, the man is home. There's no reason you should come home to a dirty house, things out of order, whatever the case is. You have to do what works. So that equally yoked, you just have to pick a viable partner that has the capacity to handle what you come with, and you come up with a plan to plow the earth, with your purpose or whatever the case is, to go in the same direction. That's it. Simplified.
Simplified version,
Right.
the simplified.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of times I believe that when we talk about equally yoked or, successfully moving in the same direction, we are too often trying to liken what works for other people to our personal relationships.
Right.
And this is where I believe a lot of people go wrong, because I'm trying to mimic and mirror, my partner who has a different background than even the example you might be following. You know
Right.
what I mean? So you may have mentors or whatever. And I'm a very unique person in the sense that I'm always like customization, customization,
Right.
customization. You have to customize what works for you. You guys have to communicate and therefore be clear. And I believe there's nothing wrong with you having an idea of what you want your partner to do, and finding out whether or not that works for you and your partner comes through communication.
Right. It does.
Good talk. So then if you learn, you know what? They really can't handle what I come with. I remember when I was married, honestly, in both of my situations, they lost their jobs. And at that time, it was when I was married younger, I actually was full-time entrepreneur, and I would work like part-time for sanity. Like I would just try to go talk to adults because I ran a
Right.
daycare for time. So I just wanted to go talk to a grown-up. Like so, but I remember when he lost his job, it was just as important for me that our house moved forward as it was for him. This
Right.
wasn't like, oh, let me just let all of this fall on his shoulders. So
Right.
when you're talking about knowing what your partner comes with, it's also being able to acclimate to the season,
Right.
because not season is going to look the same.
Right.
You know, not me and he at the time was definitely a provider, wanted to make sure I got everything. But in the moment where he couldn't have it, it was just as important for him to know that, I was going to make sure that I carried our family, because this was just as much as important and valuable to me to do.
Right.
And so when you talk about, again, carrying the load, it's and partnering up, it is about you guys making sure that you are being fruitful and multiplying,
Right.
keeping your, so that kind of that's a good segue into I put in there, I wrote down a note that being a part of being a king is with a queen is to partner, not part her.
Right.
There are situations, Dr. Faraji, where some women feel like that they're in the position of being divided by their very partner. Even like if we take that example that Sean brought up about, having a jealous or envious partner,
Right.
that can make a woman, feel divided,
Right.
because now it's like you're in competition with my purpose.
Right.
Will you speak to that?
Yeah, and unfortunately that happens a lot. That happens more often than we think, to where there might be some jealousy or animosity between partners. And a lot of times it's it's not it's what's the word that I'm looking for? It's unknown to the partner. We in these secret competitions with our partner to see who can do more, who can do better, and it's not. And again, through communication, through sitting down, having a talk and working out a plan, you can avoid all of that stuff. There's a house divided against itself cannot stand. I don't know who said it, but is the truth. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make feasible sense to go against your partner, to have turmoil in your household, right? Especially if your partner doesn't know that you're in competition with them, or a lot of times it's in a lot of people's makeup, right? They may not subconsciously they're competing with you or dividing you. And the conversation will make them aware, and you can start working on change. You just don't sit there and think, okay, my partner is kind of doing something to me that I don't like. You have to have a conversation with that person, because again, it might be subconscious. They don't realize that they're doing it. They might come with some subconscious baggage from other relationships, to where they had to kind of not let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were all, well, a lot of us, was brought up that way. My mother used to say it all the time. Don't let the left hand know what the right hand doing. Always have a little off to the side. Okay, that might be applicable in some cases, but when you're working under a true partnership, again, you can have yours, I can have mine, and we can have ours together. And that's all I can really say on that dividing, because again, it's something that I don't practice. It's something that I was guilty of in my 20s, but I don't. The only way that you can combat that is having a conversation. And then if it's not resolved at that point, I'm a big supporter of getting the hell out of there when it don't serve you. You know what I mean? Get the hell out of there. Because we don't get with people to go through problems. And a lot of people, they are innately dragging people into their mess, into their drama, into their
Yeah.
insecurity, into whatever they come through, because they want to be with somebody. They can't be by themselves. So instead of healing, I'm gonna just drag the next person into my stuff, and I'm gonna avoid dealing with my stuff, because that person needs to accept me how I am. And you just as
Yeah.
toxic and dysfunctional as you can be. Yeah, just I don't
So
do that.
I've been I've been talking. That's really good. I've been talking about toxicity a lot, and how, rather it be from our your religious background. I grew up, as in the church, and I
That's
really
it. I
feel like yeah. So I feel like a lot of times we've kind of been like hanging our hat on forgiveness and loving during all things as a permission slip, and the
long
driver behind
suffering, long suffering. That's what they call it.
long
Long suffering.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, having to go through all of these unnecessary changes
Right.
because God is giving me the tools to do so. Well, I remember a little story, y'all, of a man sitting by the pool of Bethesda, and he was there for 17 good years.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus came to him, and there was an angel that would come stir up the water, and there was healing available if you could get in the water. I can't remember how often that this angel would come, but let's say it was once a month. But for 17 years, bruh, man, stayed by that pool, like literally stayed by the pool. And then Jesus and would just complain,
Mm-hmm.
and would complain about his illness and his ailment, right there on the brink of his healing, his deliverance,
Right.
and he still wouldn't make no move. Why am I telling you this? Because there are people in your life that are right there, right next to the resources that they need to make them better.
Right.
But they rather sit there and complain.
Right.
And that's their habit.
Right.
And that is ice, and that may be their resting place. That they're good
Right.
with just being in a place of complaining and just constantly making people feel sorry for them. because at the end of the day, it might fill their cup.
Right.
But that, do you want to be healed? Because it's a real question. If it might not even be something people want. And sometimes people, and do you want to be healed might not be answered in words. It has to be also answered in actions.
Right. Because you know, in those states people get a lot of attention. And some people can't discern positive attention from negative attention. It's just all
Mm,
attention. So complaining, always having an issue gets people, you know, we call those people parasites. You know, they feed off of other people's having a heart for them, you know, looking out for them and making sure you're okay. Because that's the only attention that some people have, you know. And I'm gonna go back to what you're saying, how a lot of that stems from stuff in the church. And I tell you about the time I got kicked out of church, because a lot of times those sentiments, right, to where you were instilled with all of that stuff that we are deeming toxic now, was only done to women. Men had free reign to do whatever they wanted to do.
mm,
Free reign. That was instilled in women. And I had a speaking engagement, and I told them that, and then they took the mic. Oh yeah, go ahead. We're gonna pray for this brother, and we're gonna go ahead and get him out of here. Yeah, because that was done primarily to women. You know, wherever
really.
you grow up, no earrings, skirts down to your knees, and all the other stuff, and be a woman at all times, and blah blah blah. Where the men are just, boys are just being boys. You know, we're gonna pray for them and stuff like that. So we're dealing with the remnants of that because we grow up with that. We grow up
Yeah.
with all of those indoctrinated uh, rules that don't serve us. They didn't serve us then, and it's not serving us now. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's hilarious.
Lisa said, it's because they don't understand their pressing season. Sometimes we need the pressing to bring light of the old habits or behaviors we need to that we need to get rid of. Lisa, I would like you to give me a little bit information, a little bit more information,
Right.
elaborate on pressing season, if you don't mind. Like, let me know what that means to you. And while she's getting that together, you know, I would agree that there's definitely been some things that have been, you know, we've received, and I call it unhealthy inherited habits or perspectives that we've just taken on, and without question we've just received, and we've constantly replicated in our children and
Right.
our community and stuff like that. And so I believe that you know, we have to all be responsible for work. The Bible says faith without works is dead, and that work part is our responsibility, you know. So we have to be aware of, you know, the fact that we are always called to do some level of
Right.
working.
You got to give
That
God something to work with. Got to give him something to work with. He is
you
not a
got
genie. He's just gonna wiggle his nose, or he's gonna give you one of those, and it's gonna be fixed. You got to do the work. Got to.
you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And I know that, you know, everybody's story and situations is not going to be the same.
Right.
I know. And the thing is what I think is interesting is that I'm going to be honest, I believe that we have been often told that, like, so because I'm bringing this up as in regards to like partners, you know, relationships and things like that. I'm an advocate of healthy relationships, and I believe God is too. You got to remember, like, when God flooded the earth, you guys, he didn't flood the earth of man were evil. So if the intentions of man were toxic, and he didn't want that infiltration to have an impact on the people that were already present, I don't believe, and I don't know where we get it from, that it's acceptable for us to just so-called do life and journey with people who are toxic.
Right.
And although they may have this exposure to good because you're there, they may have, but they still have to make a choice. And
Right.
that was what I believe in that example that I was sharing, was that Jesus had to make a choice. I mean, Jesus asked him to make a choice. Do you really want to be healed? And then what steps are you willing to take to get there? Because guess what Jesus still told him to do? Get in the water.
Right.
Like, you have to, if the healing is requires you to do this, do the thing.
Right.
You know, be involved in that process. So when it comes down to your partners, you want to highly recommend and encourage them,
Right.
you know, let them know that you are there to journey with them,
Right.
but you're not responsible for their healing.
Right.
You aid in that process of healing by
Right.
being a healed person yourself, because I can provoke you, you know what I'm saying, Dr. Faraji, maybe, or trigger something, possibly, right?
Right.
Potentially. because we all have things we've gone through. But it would be of greater, I feel like it would be a greater value to you to recognize if I'm causing these constant triggers inside of you that's provoking you to do something outside of your practice, outside of your character. The person you may need to honestly make a different decision about is me.
Right.
And I'm just being honest. It may
Right.
be me if I choose not to go do the work. If
Right.
you're telling me, hey, Aquila, this is something I need you to work on, this is definitely not helpful. This is an unhealthy practice that you're showing that's gonna start provoking unhealthy behaviors in me, because I don't want to respond that way. So go do the work. And if I keep on doing what I'm doing
Right.
and I don't go make any changes.
And the key is you have to do that before you get to the end. Before you just had enough and you just can't take no more. You have to do it while you're still in the mind of, well, you know what? I might want this thing to work. I might want this relationship. I might want
Absolutely.
this partnership. You have to do it before, because a lot of people get the gumption, they get the nerve um, to stand up for themselves when it's over, when they don't have anything to lose. That's when they're most honest, right? Well, I ain't never liked your cooking anyway. You know what I mean? Your mama ain't, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Your mama did this or whatever the case is. They get the nerve to stand up for themselves when they feel they don't have anything else to lose. Well, I'm already mentally out of this thing. So, you know, me and Ray been messing around, or me and Tata Tanisha been doing whatever. When before you even got to that point, a simple conversation. The thing is, people do not like having uncomfortable conversations, but uncomfortable conversations are so necessary for growth. Do you
Yeah.
understand? I wish people really understood how much closer you feel to a person that they handle the
Yes.
uncomfortable conversation. You know, like, oh, you know what? Because we all used to having that person give us that pushback, and then they blow it up to something else. They make a mountain out of a molehill, and you can just say simply, you know what? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna think about that. I apologize for making you feel messed up, right? It wasn't my intention, and I'll try to do better, right? Call me on
Yep.
my stuff when you see me going a little sideways or whatever the case is. You feel that much closer, like, oh, okay, good, yeah, we straight, you know. But a lot of people, they don't like to have those uncomfortable conversations. But people should advocate, stand up for themselves more often than not, because especially in the beginning stages when you're really starting to get to know somebody. And but the thing is, you'll be doing that the entire relationship, because people change, people grow, people evolve. So
Yeah.
at every milestone, you'll have to come back to that person. Hey, it's not even doing a check-in. It's just like, you know, you just got to keep your what they call your thumb on the pulse of your relationship and where you guys are going, and you have to make some adjustments. And sometimes a conversation is necessary. But people,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I shouldn't have to say anything. You know, yeah, you should. You always have to say something. You know,
Yes.
always. Yeah. So I mean, in a relationship between a king and a queen, he should always pay attention. They should always pay attention to each other. So that's how you serve purpose. That's how you serve your partner without them having to ask for anything. Right? I gave you the analogy. If I see you kneel down to pray and you got a hole at the bottom of your shoe, why would I ask you if you need new shoes? I can see your socks. I'm going to get you
Yeah.
some new shoes. Or I'm giving you the money to get your new shoes. Or I'm taking you to go get new shoes. That's just being attentive to your partner. There's no, hey, babe, I need new shoes. And I know that you got holes in the bottom of your shoes in the closet. Oh, I'm just not going to say nothing because she ain't asked me. You know, what type of sense does that make? You have to pay attention to your partner so you can serve them. It feels so good when somebody, it comes across as a blessing. You know what? I needed some new shoes and he gave me the money. I'm going to get some new shoes. Oh, I saw the hole. I just ain't make no big deal about it. I said, babe, go get you some new shoes. You know, but you have to pay attention to each other so you can
Yeah.
serve each other in that manner.
Absolutely. No, that's so good. Because I think that, you hit it, you know what I'm saying? One of the nails on the head, where a lot of times we just want people to just know what our needs are, but that may come with observation. And observation can be done in a little bit of time or a lot of time. It
Right,
depends on every relationship is different. Everybody's perspective and is different. Some people are more keen at paying attention than
right,
others. But it's definitely, you should have equally. This is why these conversations are important, is because you begin to recognize whether or not you and your partner, again, we go back to equally yoked, meaning, is your partner just as invested in the success of your relationship as you are?
right,
Are they even do they even care as much about the relationship? Do they really just want a person who is a companion, or are they looking for a partner? A
Right.
companion, you ain't even got to do nothing but be present in the room.
Right. Basically.
I don't need you to really do nothing. You ain't got to say too many words. You ever be on the phone with somebody and they just want somebody on the other end of the line so they don't sound crazy when they talking, so that somebody can say, mm-hmm. They
Yeah.
don't really need your involvement.
Right.
They
They
just
don't need you to respond to nothing. Just
they
yeah. Right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy. Really? You know.
That's something exactly, and that's crazy, right? Some people want that. And then there's other people that are like, no, I actually want feedback. I want to know your thoughts. You have to be able to identify what is that intention of your partner? What are they looking for? Not just show up thinking that everybody wants the same thing, because they don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I remember doing a live with what's his name, with Fitz, and he talked about, he said, well, he had companions when he had the animals. He had people he talked to,
Right.
but and they could probably do a in their own language, you
Right.
know. But he wanted, partnership, which is why there was a need for woman, because there was now somebody who could be equally yoked, in the sense that we can
Right.
move in the same direction. We have the same, or similar abilities, and so on and so forth. So I think that's really good. The other thing is, so Lisa got back to me and said the pressing or crushing of grapes to make wine. Like, we in the scriptures, there's a pressing process that the Lord does in us, that can create or reveal our purpose.
Right.
I do understand that, Lisa, wholeheartedly. That what you're talking about, Lisa, also, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's for the mature, because grapes in its immature form is just fruit.
Right.
But in its mature form, when it's older and it's gone through that crushing and it's had to age, that's maturity. We're talking about it matures. It goes through that process. Not everybody understands the crushing process to make them better. I can say that when I went through in my first marriage, having an affair was a crushing for me, but it allowed me to understand that my part of my purpose is to restore healthy relationship, but it started with me having confidence and showing that other people need to have confidence in themselves. It also allowed me to understand that confidence was what allows me to become a better advocate of myself. So I coach individuals on that. So yes, I can say that crushing, if you will, revealed for purpose to be revealed, but not necessarily would that be the same case if, in fact, going through that affair, which I literally contemplated suicide, told my dad, come get my son, I'm gonna take some pills, because I wanted to just go to sleep and not wake up, because the pain was so bad and the shame. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I know that if I just stayed in that place, even if I wouldn't have taken the pills, because I didn't, even if that wasn't a real thing, and I just decided to stay in a place of depression, and we're talking 17 years later, we're not talking about a crushing to make me into wine. We're just talking about the fact that I'm just crushed. So if you crush a grape on the floor, it does nothing but become a crushed grape that need to be cleaned up and put in the trash.
Right.
So crushing has to be, intentional about, that this isn't the end of me. And that's the difference, I think, that you're speaking about, Lisa. You got a comment on that, a response?
No, no, it's just God does the crushing. Like I hope you're not assuming that you take something from your partner kind of beating you down and crushing you or pressing you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she was talking about that, but man, I hope
Yeah.
not, at least, yeah, because let God do the crushing. Let him press those grapes, and let your partner love you. So yeah.
I love that. Absolutely. Let the partner do, let God do the crushing and your partner do the loving. Because
Right.
that's what God charged us to do, is love.
Right.
So really quick, and I think we probably hit it all. We talked about working together. Oh, here's the last one. uh Suggestion versus what did I say? Suggestion versus, dang, I can't think of my other comparison, but it's basically like a person who makes a suggestion in your relationship versus being an authority figure. So if you say, hey, here's a good idea, Aquila, for you to do this or that and the other, and it's a suggestion and I don't do it, did you give me that as a suggestion, that information, or did you give it to me as something that was more like a decision, I can't think of my other
Like
word right now.
command, like yeah. Right.
Yes. So yes, that's what let's talk about that. So suggestion versus a command in relationship. A lot of partners feel like when they tell their mate or their partner something, I'm telling you this because I want you to do what it is that I'm telling you to do.
Right.
You and then when you don't do it, I'm like,
Yeah, it depends on what that is. Like a suggestion um is you don't suggest that a man take out the trash. You don't suggest that he fill a car up with gas. You don't suggest that he treat you right. Those are things that need to happen, right? Whether they do it, you do it, the trash got to get taken out. But in the bigger scheme of things, like let's just say we have a plan to do something. We're looking at new houses, we're looking at commercial property. Hey, and I suggest you go for this loan or whatever the case is. And then you don't do it, right? So that's, oh, I'm not going to do it, or because for my reasons, right? I'm not going to do it, or I feel like it doesn't work. Um, that's okay, right? That's okay. So for my partner, right, even though I know it won't work, I can explain to her why it won't work, or I can do it, right? I can put forth that effort to do it just to show that it won't work, right? So this is why, because of X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So, and that's fine. There's a conversation that takes place, right? There's some understanding that's gotten. There's some agreeing and disagreeing. We kind of work through things. The opposite end of the spectrum is you giving pushback now because he didn't. So now you have an attitude. Now you're questioning everything. Oh, it's blown up now. Oh, you just don't value me because you didn't take my suggestion and blah, blah, blah. Right. So if I'm supposed to be the head, right? If we're supposed to be partners, everything is not going to work in your favor and vice versa, right? So again, submission, you're the subject matter expert. Hey, why don't you try red instead of blue or whatever the case is? I'm really not feeling blue or I'm not feeling red, whatever the case is. So I'm gonna have a attitude now. You know what I mean? Because you didn't take my suggestion. Disagreements shouldn't cause confrontation, right? I can disagree with you and still be your friend, right? I can tell you something out of love. It's about my delivery. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, that's stupid. You shouldn't even do that." But that's what most of us do. I don't know why you doing that. That's stupid. It ain't gonna work. Why are you being negative about it? Hey, babe, why don't you try this? This might look better with your skin tone or whatever the case is, or this make your belly look big. Faraji, like, try something else, it's about your delivery, and it shouldn't cause a conflict. Hey, listen, lay off my belly, but all right, let me put on a different shirt that ain't, what I'm saying, gonna show my belly or something. Disagreement shouldn't cause confrontation.
So you brought it. So my that was going to segue us into disagreeing is not division. So it's pretty much the same
Right,
concept. Suggesting what I believe is that, like, we have to approach it from a standpoint of that our words are seeds. And so there are some things that I think it's important to clarify, like, hey, this is a suggestion, or this is what I want you to do.
right,
There's a difference.
yeah,
And that now that your partner knows that I'm not just giving this as a suggestion, I
right,
really want to do the thing. And now we can have a real conversation around, you doing it, and therefore my expectation is not in vain.
right,
So if I said, you know what, let's go here to eat versus there. No, I really wanted to go there to eat. That wasn't a suggestion.
right,
You know what I mean? And then so that way you can say, hey, you know what, you wanted to go here to eat, well then let's go there to eat. Or
right,
I'm not feeling that. Oh, okay, well here's where we can come to, something we agree. A lot of times, again, we go back to, again, communication is important.
right,
People are not communicating what is a suggestion versus what is really a decided choice that I'm telling you I want to
right,
make. Or you know what I mean? Like, this is really this is a non-negotiable, or not a non-negotiable, but this is a very decided
right.
option that that I'm
Right.
sharing.
So how many times that I know as a man, it'd be like, hey, where you want to go to eat? I don't care. I'm just hungry. Okay, so where you want to go to eat? You want to go, oh, I don't like that. So where do you want to go to eat? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I gotta tell you to advocate for yourself, because if I take you to Fridays or something like that, and you wanted to go to Papa Do's, we're gonna have a problem. So say where you want to go. It's communication. Communication is the foundation of everything. It resolves a lot of issues. It resolves a lot of frustration. It resolves anything between you and your partner. It's just that conversation. It's you just standing up for yourself, as you say, advocate for yourself better, and choose. You know, choose.
Yeah.
And it's down to those minute decisions. It might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but just one example of where you
Yeah,
can speak up for yourself.
absolutely. Well, this was a really great conversation. Thank
Oh,
you guys
absolutely.
so much
Yeah.
for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Faraji, for part 2 of our Heart
Yeah,
of a
no
King.
problem. No problem. I'm glad I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. This was good. I hope you guys got some really great takeaways. If you haven't done so, please share the video with your groups, your friends, your network, or whatever, to inspire them to have healthy relationship practices as well. Remember, you become good at anything you practice, including the bad stuff. So I want you to practice some good things, okay? And so that's what these conversations are for. Again, thank you guys for all your comments, your hearts, your likes, and all of that. We appreciate your involvement and engagement. Tune in tomorrow. We have one more final session with Dr. Faraji in the Heart of a King. We're going to talk about his kingdom, his household, his community, how he shows up in those aspects. You don't want to miss it. Tomorrow we will be back here live again at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Same great time, same great place. And until next time,
All right. Take care.
bye-bye.